Well, I'll start with saying it's a constitutional matter, and it's been adopted by all spheres of society in Nigeria as a norm, as a mode of operating politics, in a way that all sections of Nigeria get a sense of belonging. The federal character principle enshrined in our constitution gave birth to that rotational practice. And over the years, it has been respected and abided by, respected by all persons involved in politics. And it's a good thing if properly followed. There is no reason why one section of any of the country should assume that it has monopoly of all the good hands, while the other sides do not have the good hands to run the country. It is
Hello.
As I said from the onset, this constitution. Hello?
Please go ahead. We can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was just repeating that the principle of rotation of the presidential seat of Nigeria's government is a constitutionally recognized practice. It is something that political parties over the years have adopted and practiced, and it should be continued as long as we want this country to remain one indivisible nation. In fact, that should be the underlying principle that will give assurance. We are aware that there are several people who come up once in a while to say that the principle is unnecessary, that we should just look for a qualified Nigerian from any part of the country and make him president. Be that as it may be correct, but we have already started it, and we have already commenced implementation, wherein we make one part, and it has always been between the North and the South. I am a firm believer in that principle, because Nigeria is as complete, as presently constituted, can only survive when we allow equity and good conscience to guide our activities. Any situation or any attempt to make one section of the country to be shortchanged or to feel unwanted will not give us peace. And I think, judging from the frayed nerves in the country, judging from the tensions in the country, the thing that government likes to use secessionist movements or activism, I prefer to say that people are asking for self-actualization and respect within the contraption called Nigeria. In order to contain and maintain these nerves and keep us level-headed and peaceful, we must continue to respect this principle of rotational presidency. I am a firm believer, and I subscribe to it.
All right, thank you so much. Let us hear from our second guest, Mr. Gwangwa. So are you able to join now?
Yes, I am. Good evening, gents and ma'am.
All right, we can hear you. Kindly move the phone away from your face.
I will try. I'm trying to settle down where I am now. A moment.
Okay, while we're waiting for him, let us go back to Mark Jacobs. Mr. Mark Jacobs, it's common knowledge that the current administration used zoning as part of their strategy in 2015. Why then do you think the North is vehemently against the idea of rotational presidency?
Personally, I'm not surprised that certain elements in the North do not subscribe to the shifting of the presidency to the South presently. because it's in the nature of some people to believe or to believe, they continuously insist that they are the only ones qualified to rule. And it is a thing that Nigerians must shout against. There is no reason why anybody in this Nigeria, the country we call Nigeria, should think that the best or the only strength or leadership can only come from the north. It's a wrong assumption, and it should be condemned. The northern elements, and I'm sure it's not every northerner that is saying that they are not subscribing to the shift of power to the south. No, I've seen so many of them saying, yeah, power should shift to the south. And I'm one of them. I believe strongly that the few that are saying that power should not shift to the south are saying so largely out of misunderstanding, misconception of the principle, and then some jaundiced opinion of trying to keep power to themselves, not really because of performance, because if we are going to talk about performance, the best 11 that was put forward by the North since 2015 has failed. And so basically, there is sufficient justification for power to shift to the South come 2023.
But do you think that the North is, but that the South is ready to take power?
Power is and can be taken by anybody. Honestly, the South is over-prepared. I have gone around the country on several assignments, and I know, and I also know personally that there are many qualified persons from the South that can be president, that can be United Nations leaders. We have people of high standing from all parts of the South that can be president. And particularly now that we need to balance the inequities, the frayed nerves in the country, this is the right time to cede power to the South so that they'll be calm. Look, most of the agitations we are getting either from the Bohos, the Nnamdi Kanus and others, they're all born out of this feeling that, look, since 2015, a certain section of the country has been left out of governance and has been shortchanged and has been balkanized. If we want to continue to be one Nigeria, that is sufficient reason why power should shift to the South. So that from the onset, nerves are calmed, people are reassured that there is no ganging up against a particular section of the country, that there is no deliberate attempt to balkanize a certain section of the country and make them look like visitors or strangers to the federation, which is what many people feel now in the South. And like I've said, I have a number of well-qualified Nigerians from the South that have what it takes to lead Nigeria out of the current woods. We have a lot of problems that are bedeviling this country currently, economically, socially, security-wise, and so on. I believe that having tried the best from the North, this is the right time to try another person from the South. And I know there are many qualified, eminently qualified Southerners that should do this work.
Okay, while we are still waiting for our second guest to join us, Mr. Gongo, so when you're ready, just send me a message in the chat box to indicate you are ready and would ask for your own opinions. Now, Mr. Jacobs, will you say that zoning is actually legal and democratic?
Well, you may not find exact words saying zoning, but the federal character principles that were followed in this country are enshrined in the Constitution. They are part and parcel of the Constitution. And since we have accepted that the Constitution is a grown norm, is the highest law of the land, there is no reason, there is no better way of finding justification for zoning. Zoning actually is a rider is derived from the federal character principle. And as contained in the Constitution, we even have a Federal Character Commission. Now, when you have a Federal Character Commission that is established by the law, by a Constitution, to appropriate and aggregate positions at the federal level between states and between zones, there is justification for zoning. And that makes sure, that is just to make sure that all parts of the country, all persons and all people feel welcome to the federation known as Nigeria. And having found that in the Constitution, we can say that yes, zoning is constitutional.
Okay, and now talking about the argument against zoning, one of the trending arguments is that the rotational presidency is not, the rotational president allows power to be served on a platter, and power should not be served on a platter. Another argument is that it pushes capacity and other virtues of a leader to the back seat. So what do you think about if political parties adopt rotational presidency but promote proven leaders with track records? Don't you think that this will solve the problem of whether or not rotational presidency should be allowed?
Well, just as I said earlier.
Hello, sir. Did you get my question?
I got you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, what I'm saying is that this argument currently is coming up in 2021. But from 1999, nobody, and I repeat, nobody, particularly the beneficiaries of the principle, have objected to its application. So the question is, why today? Why is it that in 2015, for instance, all the people that are queued up screaming against the principle, why were they in support of it in 2015? And if we are very sincere to ourselves, we know that the people shouting against zoning or federal character principle today have benefited from it more than any other person. And so what is good for the goose is good for the gander. And when you say that the presidency or position should be made available to those who are qualified, it is simple. The big contraption known as Nigeria, if you throw it open to everybody, you know that you have trillions of people contesting. So a large form of screening takes place when you say, okay, let's limit our search for the best to a certain section, so that, yes, it is open, but let the best from a certain section come and judge for the position. That way, you can be sure that, yes, you have taken care of two things. You have taken care of the feelings of marginalization, and you have also taken care of the principle of getting the best out of the best within that environment. That way, you have no problems at all, because you would have gotten the best from a contraption, a smaller section of the country, instead of opening it up to every other person. We have continuously practiced this, and nobody has objected to it. It's ironical that those who benefited from it recently, most recently, are those who are fighting against it. It's hypocrisy. And that is the problem in Nigeria. When it suits me, it should be, a principle should be implemented. When it doesn't suit me, it should not be implemented. It is when it is another person's turn that we turn around and begin to sermonize, begin to preach big principles of democracy, begin to talk about just opening up the space for the best. Why didn't we preach like this 5, 6 years ago? People are just being hypocritical. But the reality is, let's continue this simple practice until we no longer want to exist as one Nigeria. But as long as we want to exist as one Nigeria, this principle has come to stay, and it should be respected. Otherwise, you wake up every day and find one section overloading another section, and insisting that that section is the most qualified or the only qualified section to bring up leaders. And that is wrong. Let me just say quickly that the first thing is that it is the so-called geopolitical zones that are not constitutional that my Oga Kabiru is running quickly to recognize. Because they are not in the Constitution. They are not at all mentioned in the Constitution. There is no reference to geopolitical zones in any of our books. So they are just an adoption. And unfortunately, everybody, including the Federal Ministry of Finance, including the presidency and everywhere, keep referring to these geopolitical zones. They are not in the Constitution, yet they are being respected. So what I'm saying, there are things that have been developed. If they are good, just like the geopolitical zones that have been adopted, they are not in the Constitution, but they are being utilized because of the good that flows from that. I think in the same vein, we must respect the very clear provisions of our Constitution that talks about equity, that talks about carrying everybody along, making everybody to feel welcome in this country called Nigeria, making every section of this country to know that they belong and that they can be president. Forget about these pseudo or very wild definitions of democracy. Nigeria is still developing. And in developing, since we still insist that we should remain one indivisible nation, we must manage our differences very carefully. And in managing our differences carefully, we must make everybody to feel welcome, to feel comfortable in the country. And so, deliberately, political parties have over the years, I was in MPP, sir. I was also in PRP. I voted, and I was an agent of NPP. So now, having done that, over the years, I have known up to zero party, up to option A6 and A4 period, up to the BPN and all these other parties, SDP and what of them. All of them have always tried to see how they can make this presidency to belong to one side. If the president is coming from the north, the vice should come from the south. If today we wake up and say we want to jettison that practice, we're indirectly saying that we are no longer interested in building a united Nigeria. A Nigeria that my children from the south, my cousins from the north will feel comfortable to belong to, because we deliberately make provision for power to go from left to right. It doesn't take away anything. But because some people are in office today, they don't want that discussion. And I say that is not fair to the whole country. We must continue to exhibit capacity to accommodate each other, exhibit capacity to say, look, yes, I can do this thing, but let me leave it for somebody else. That is the underlying spirit in the Nigerian Constitution, which says that we must respect each other. We must relate on the basis of equality. We must relate on the basis of fairness, where, yes, if we want to talk about this population thing we keep talking about, you can say, yes, we have the numbers. Like somebody said some months ago, that we have the numbers. We can have our way. That is not statesmanship. That is not the way we build a country that will be loved by everybody, where everybody will have a sense of belonging. And I believe that majority of the people, not the elite who are sharing the power in the north, because majority of the people, the poor, who are dying in their hundreds in the north, particularly the core north, they are not feeling the joy, they are not benefiting from this power tussle. They are concerned, as I speak to you today, is how they can wake up, go to their farms peacefully, come back, keep their families, go to mosque, pray, wake up. Today, people are not should be our concern. Our concern, our struggle to retain presidency, particularly in the North, is not in their interest, because they would like to have somebody who will come in and say, look, I'm going to stop this nonsense. And so the issues, like I said, are not all about it is not in the Constitution. It is in the Constitution. Once you talk of federal character, and you even have a federal character commission, the underlying spirit of the federal character principle is that power should be shared, offices should be shared equitably. No power or no offices should be lumped in one section of the country. So it's constitutional. And we should, in the interest of building and sustaining one nation, ensure, for the sake of building and sustaining an indivisible one nation, that is the only way we can go about it. Not to say, we have the numbers. If you don't want, go and form your country, which is what some people have said. And it is wrong, because this country can only survive through give and take. You don't show or use anything you have in your advantage today against everybody, and then expect that everybody will follow you. People are supposed to follow willingly and with joy, with laughter. But the moment it becomes coercive, you will have agitations. And I can say without any doubt that that is why we have agitations all over the country today. The political parties already have rotation in their constitutions and in their dealings. All the political parties, maybe PRP exempted, but I have been in touch with the PDP. I know what the APC stood for. I know what ABGA, even in the states, they insist on zoning. So zoning is not alien, neither is it a new baby that we need to persuade anybody about. Zoning is there in all the political parties. What citizens need to do is to keep reminding the political parties that whatever decisions they take will determine where the votes go to in the next election. And we should go out and sensitize Nigerians that this is the turn of the South, irrespective of what anybody is saying, because Nigerians are also very reasonable people. The generality of Nigerians believe in equity, believe in fair play. And the argument is founded on solid rock, that having held power for 8 solid years, it is not just unconventional, it is completely out of mischief for anybody to say that power should remain in the North. I don't see the justification. I don't see any justification for that claim. And I know even the people talking about it know deep inside them that before today, they knew that come 2023, power will shift to the South. And there is no gainsaying about it. It's a very clear thing. And the serious agitations and problems we have in the country, for me, are the main reason why I would say, look, let us shift power to the South and give opportunity to a fresh hand, somebody that will look at these issues purely on a professional basis. Professional in the sense that he's a Nigerian president and approach all the issues from the standpoint of building a nation, not a position of building his friends, like Malan Kabiru said. Somebody is president, but everybody around him is either his relation or his relation's relation. That is not the Nigeria that my children want.
Mr. Jacobs.
Well, thank you very much again. Maybe we should just say that the country is rife for real agitation and pressurizing to actualize what has been established in all the political parties, that power rotates. It's not a new thing, and I repeat, it's not new. The the political parties have been practicing rotation over and over, particularly APC and PDP. So as it is, 2020 political parties to take the decisions that we want. And this is doable. And we should go about it peacefully. It takes a lot of negotiation. It takes a lot of legwork. It takes a lot. We need to link up with people. We need to reach out to people in the political parties so that the right decision is taken. And I'm sure discussions like this should continue so that we get the decisions that we want. Nobody can take away the fact that the North, having held power for 8 years, has no justifiable reason to insist that power should remain in the North. There is no justification for it, especially if we insist that this country should remain one. If we want a one Nigeria to continue and persist, the foundational things we need to do include the sustainability of the principle of power shift. That is one of the of a one Nigeria. Once you jettison that principle, you have killed the soul of Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that's as much as we can take on today's. Can you hear me?